that that recovery is sustainable, and they want to be sure that it touches every community and every person, not just for a few at the top. And so we have work to do, and we're going to do it with Joe Biden at the lead. As you have heard from my colleagues, one of the main areas where we need to do work is providing housing. Now, this is especially acute in southern Nevada, but we're not the only place. It's everywhere in the country. It's in northern Nevada that's growing so fast. We need housing for people who can afford it, who are working. We need housing so your college-age children can move out again, who have come back home to live with you. We need to get people off the streets who have no option and are unhoused, and we see them on every corner. And so the proposals that the President's going to announce today are very important, and we've got to get them through. You heard Stephen talk about all the bills that are out there, and Susie, that we're signed on to, but with the Republican Congress leading in the House, we can't get those to the floor. So we need for you to remember that elections do make a difference, so we can get some of those proposals passed. You know, just in the wake of hearing that the President was coming back to Southern Nevada to talk about the important issue of housing, our governor sent a letter criticizing him and saying, well, give us more public land. You shouldn't have created a VQMA, and you should have put that into public lands. Well, those two things are apple and oranges. Remember what I told you about shoveling and calling it sugar? Well, there's a real good example of that. Who's going to go out there to searchlight past there where this VQMA is and build affordable housing? And don't forget, the governor vetoed about a half a dozen bills that the legislature passed to help with the housing issue. So we are so glad the President's here. We want to hear what he has to say. We know these programs will make a difference because they've made a difference in the past, and we need to stand up and fight with them and let them know this is what we need, and we appreciate getting it done. So thank you for being here, and let's get on with the show.
Please welcome Ron Audio Live Story.
Mexico. In 1995, I moved to Las Vegas, Nevada. I came in pursuit of the American dream to have a better future. After graduating from Las Vegas High School in 1998, I joined the union, Operative Plazas and Cement Mason, Local 797. They gave me not only a job, but a career that changed my life forever. After 4 years of the best apprenticeship program as a plasterer, I became a journeyman, Because of my union, I was able to find work, make a good living, save, and get ahead. But for working Americans like me to have a shot, we need a voice in the White House. We have that voice with President Biden. The president has our backs, has the backs of us workers. And President Biden gets that owning a home is how most of us get a chance to build wealth. He knows that affordable housing is a necessity. That's why I was so happy to learn that the President is continuing to push for more actions to make housing even more affordable for everyone. Thanks to the President's work turning around the economy after COVID, making sure workers get a fair shot, I am proud to say that I am on the market to buy a home. I know he's making this a reality for so many people just like me. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to introduce the leader who embodies this vision of progress and unity, the most pro-union president ever, the now and future president of the United States, Joe Biden.
Appreciate it. Thanks for sharing your story. You know, you immigrated to America as a teenager, graduated from high school, spent 4 years as an Indian apprentice, which is like earning a college degree before you became a journeyman. You know, I'm a big pro-union guy. I make no apology about it. Everybody talks about unions. It's interesting, people that don't understand, they go, well, you know, union, they're like you walk in and say, I want to be an electrician and be a plasterer. You have 4 or 5 years of apprenticeship. You earn it, and you deserve it. You help build homes for others and reach their dreams, and now you mark yourself to continue your dream. I also met another mother named Latrice. Latrice Shue. Where's Latrice? Latrice, excuse me. There she is. Was able to buy a first home with a $15,000 down payment by the American Rescue Plan, which we did. All she needed was a fair shot. She found a good paying union job. She took home ownership classes to raise her credit score. She did her hard work, and now she owns a home in paradise with her 16-year-old daughter, a straight A student. Stand up, kiddo. Partners in Congress here today who are helping make these dreams possible. Representative Stephen Horsford, a great leader of the 4th District and chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, who works every single day to reduce housing costs and close the racial wealth gap, which is happening. Representative Susan Lee, who is a driving force to cut red tape and build more affordable housing all across Nevada. Representative Dana Titus, God love you, Dana, you're old friend. You've always had my back, and I've had yours, and you had people of this country and this city back. Housing is so much more than just a word. It's about people's lives. You can't be here today because there are votes in Washington, but I also want to thank your outstanding senators, Catherine Cortez Masto and Jackie Rosen, for the leadership. I also want to thank all the housing advocates here today who are doing God's work. Also, the housing advocates, stand up. You're doing a great job. And by the way, you know, I won't go into that, I guess, but look, folks, when I came to office, the pandemic was raging and our economy was reeling. Nevada was especially hard hit as tourism took a dive, a gigantic dive. Before I came to office, unemployment reached 30% here. And we're turning things around today because of the folks I just talked about. And Nevada's created 274,000 jobs, bringing back the lost jobs of the pandemic and adding another 129,000 jobs. Things are on the move. Unemployment is down dramatically, with more Nevadans working today than Nevada. And thousands of cities across all of America are seeing this great comeback story. Now, my American Rescue Plan, which I might add, not a single solitary Republican voted for, provided $350 billion to state and local governments, including funds for every city, county, town, tribe in this state. And your state put that money to good use. You put cops on the beat, teachers in the classroom, kept small businesses on their feet, families in their homes. And that's not all. You can't have the best economy in the world, which we do now, if you don't have the best infrastructure in the world. My predecessor promised, remember, my predecessor kept talking about infrastructure week for 4 years. We didn't build a damn thing. You don't think I'm kidding, I'm not. I propose to sign the most significant investment in our nation's infrastructure in generations. And now we're going to have an infrastructure of a decade. So far, 47,000 new projects modernize Americans' roads, bridges, ports, airports, public transit, and so much more is happening, creating jobs now and jobs for the future as well. $3.4 billion in projects right here in Nevada. $3.4 billion. When I was writing this and talking about it, all I kept thinking about was Harry Reid. We're connecting the entire state to affordable high-speed internet by the end of this decade. Every single part of the state will have high-speed affordable internet, and we're already saving 276,000 Nevada families as much as $75 a month on internet bills. And I know our friend Harry's looking down and saying, damn proud of it. The airport in his name is getting an upgrade as well. Couldn't do one without the other, you know. He's so proud of building America's first high-speed rail line that to take folks from Las Vegas to Los Angeles in 2 hours instead of 4. You know, it's going to create 35,000, it's the first major high-speed rail line in America. 35,000 good-paying jobs. Take 3 million vehicles off the road and reduce pollution significantly. It's also taking more significant all the way. So we cut the time in half. Now, I don't know why anybody want to get to L.A. in half the time, but I know why they all come here. All kidding aside, it really is incredible. It's a gigantic project, and by the way, it's encouraged California, Central California, to build a high-speed rail as well. You know, the idea that we haven't had one single high-speed rail built in America up to now is ridiculous. And so, you know, Chinese have a rail system that goes 130 miles an hour. Anyway, 230 miles an hour, I should say. But look, we're taking the most significant action to fight climate change ever. My policies have attracted $650 billion in private sector investments from companies that are moving clean energy, factories and jobs back here in America where they belong. For example, in Reno, Redwood Materials is going to invest $3.5 billion in one of the country's major electric vehicle battery recycling and manufacturing plants, creating thousands of jobs here. Thousands of jobs. Tomorrow in Arizona, we're talking about America invented the semiconductor chip, the tiny chips the size of the tip of your little finger, which powers everything from automobiles to smartphones to weapon systems. We invented those chips. We made them better, and then we lost the market because a lot of the corporations said, let's send the jobs overseas where they're cheaper and bring the product home, which is more expensive. We don't do that anymore. We make it here. We keep the jobs here. We send products overseas. The reason I mentioned we've been able to bring the chips manufacturing back home. We attracted $240 billion in private sector investments to build chip factories here in America. And by the way, they're creating tens of thousands of good-paying jobs both in construction and manufacturing. And the average salary in one of what they call them fabs or factories is $100,000 a year, and you don't need a college degree to get that job. Across the country, folks have filed a record number of new business applications since I took office. The fastest growth of Latino-owned businesses in more than a decade. More black small businesses starting at the highest rate in 30 years. In Nevada, since I came to office, we've seen 195,000 small business applications. And every one of those applications is an act of hope. It's critical because small businesses, and the reason I keep talking about small businesses make up half the GDP, half the economy of America. Half of all the economy of America is generated by small businesses. But here's the deal. As more folks move to Nevada for good paying jobs, we need housing that's affordable. The depth of the pandemic, the American Rescue Plan delivered funds to keep 8 million families in their homes nationwide by preventing foreclosures and evictions. So here in Nevada, use those funds to keep 50,000 people's rent barely paid. Hundreds of first-time home buyers able to make a down payment and investing more in building and renovating affordable homes than almost any other part of the country, any state in the country. For example, here in Clark County, nearly 1,000 brand new affordable units for seniors are under construction today as a result. 8,000 homes total for families, seniors, and veterans. And across the country, more people own homes now than before the pandemic. We're seeing fewer foreclosures than any time in decades, but we have a lot more to do. For too many people, the dream of having a good home still feels out of reach. I get it. Look, here's my plan. But, everybody thinks because I was president, I was probably born wealthy and I come from a significant background economically. Well, I had the dubious distinction of being listed as the poorest man in Congress for 36 years. I got a phone call. My wife was campaigning up. I was campaigning up in New Hampshire back when that statistic came out in the 90s. And she called. I used to call them because the kids were little when I was away. They say, "How's everything going?" I got this. Fine. You know you're in trouble when your wife or husband says, fine. And I said, what's the matter? She said, only elected officials, husband or wife, understand this. She said, do you read today's paper? I said, we don't have today's paper. The Wilmington paper, Delaware, up in Nevada, where I was Leahy, up in Vermont. And she said, well, let me read it. Top of the fold headline, Biden. Poorest man in Congress. Is that true? I don't know if that was true, but it turned out it was true. But here's the deal. My new budget works to lower housing costs for owners and renters alike today. I was raised in when Scranton, where I was born, and in my early years were raised, when Scranton went dead in terms of the economy, we moved down to a little place called Claremont, Delaware, where my dad had started off as a kid, and we couldn't afford anything. We lived in a duplex called Brookview Apartments, which became public housing years later. And my dad kept trying to figure out how we get the down payment to get the first home. Well, we rented and we saved, he saved, and we were able to buy a 3-bedroom home in a new development because of these areas were building 40, 50 homes at a shot. We had 4 kids, 3 bedrooms, and a grandpa living with us. And we weren't poor, but we never had anything at the end of the month. And so what my dad used to always say was that the way you build equity in your home is the way you build wealth. So when you build enough equity in your home, then you have enough money to borrow to get something new and new and so on. And that's how everybody makes it. Everybody in the middle class makes it there usually through equity in their home. Well, look, it works. What we've been doing works to increase housing supply and keep costs down in the future. First, for homeowners. Inflation keeps coming down, and it's predicted to do that. Mortgage rates are going to come down as well, but I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to wait. I want to provide an annual tax credit that will give Americans $400 a month for the next 2 years as mortgage rates come down, to put toward their mortgage when they buy their first home or trade up for a little more space if they come from a middle-class background. They come from a family that has well under $200,000 or less. We're also making it more affordable to refinance your home by eliminating title insurance fees on federally funded mortgages, backed mortgages. That's going to save folks as much as $1,500. The federal government can afford to do that. In addition, last week, the National Association of Realtors agreed for the first time that Americans can negotiate lower commissions when they buy or sell their home. typical home purchase, that alone can save folks an average of $10,000 on the sale or purchase. I'm calling on realtors to follow through on lowering commissions to protect home buyers. And folks, we're also working to end the legacy of discrimination on the basis of home valuations. I mean, it's exacerbated, as we know, it's exacerbated the racial wealth gap and held back black and brown families. And it's simply wrong. You know, if you build if a developer came along and built 20 homes on one side of the highway and 20 homes on the other, and the one side had people with black and brown backgrounds, and the same exact home was built in the white neighborhood, guess what? The day you run that home, that black home is worth 20% less than the white home, or the Hispanic home is worth 20% less. It's wrong. Second, my plan goes to work so we can bring the rents down. My administration is cracking down on big corporations who break antitrust laws by price fixing and keep the rents up. That's how they work it out. Landlords should be competing to give folks the best deal, not conspiring to charge them more. We're also going after what I call unfair rental and junk fees. You know, like the ones you charge when you move into an apartment. One of those surprise convenience fees, not convenient at all. You can add up to hundreds of dollars. And so some of you have been stuck with that. Folks are tired of being played for suckers, and I'm tired of letting them be played for suckers. We're also expanding rental assistance to over 100,000 more low-income families since I took office, the biggest increase in 20 years. We didn't plan without hundreds of thousands more, including foster kids, as I mentioned earlier, aging out of foster care. So they have to move out and living on their own for the first time. It's also going to help thousands of veterans afford their rent because no one should be homeless in America, especially someone who served this country. Of course, more affordable housing has been a challenge for a long time. To solve it long term, we have to increase supply. Because when supply is down, demand is up, costs rise. The bottom line to lower housing costs for good is to build, build, build. And that's why the Honorable Congressional Delegation I've cut red tape so more builders can get federal financing for the new projects. A record 1.7 million new housing units are under construction nationwide right now because of it. In fact, today my administration reported that single-family housing starts are the highest level they've been in nearly 2 years, and my new plan will create 2 million affordable homes, including tens of thousands right here in Nevada. You know, and we're doing this through what we call the neighborhood home tax credit to build or renovate affordable housing. And, you know, and we do it by expanding the bipartisan low-income, it's called the low-income, sorry with all these titles, but that's what these bills are, the low-income housing tax credit to build affordable rental units, which is supported by lenders, builders, families, and housing advocates alike. Look, my plan will also establish an innovative program to help communities build and renovate housing or convert housing from empty office spaces into housing, empty hotels into housing. My plan will provide $8 billion to fight homelessness and move people into homes and off the street. And I say it again. In the United States, no one should have to live in the street. No one. Folks altogether, experts are calling these measures, quote, the most consequential housing plan in more than 50 years. But let me be clear. It's not only my plan, it's fully paid for. And while I'm paying for it, we're also reducing the federal debt at the same time. You know, Republicans talk about, you know, big tax and Democrats. Give me a break. Come on. I've already cut the federal deficit by $1 trillion since I took office. The last time I increased the deficit by a larger margin than any president in American history in the 4 years he was president. I signed a bipartisan budget deal to cut another $1 trillion in the next decade. For example, because of the law I signed, finally, Big Pharma, the pharmaceutical companies, and we finally beat them, giving Medicare the power to negotiate the prescription drug prices they pay for seniors like they do with the Veterans Administration. The VA says I need this for veterans, but I'm not going to pay you more than this for this amount of money. Well, it doesn't just save seniors money, it's already saving taxpayers money. The one thing we've been able to do is, when I did that one thing, making sure that you're going to be able to have insulin for $35 instead of $400 a month. Well, guess what? That cut the deficit by $160 billion. $160 billion. What was it really for? Not only saves seniors a lot of money, when I first wrote it, it included everybody. The Republicans knocked out everybody and left the seniors in. They couldn't use that one. But here's the deal. $160 billion over the next decade, because Big Pharma doesn't have to pay out the $400 a month. They're paying out $35 a month to Big Pharma. My plan would double the number of drugs able to be negotiated to save another $200 billion a year. This bill has already been passed. Here's the deal, folks. You know, right now, we cut the deficit by even more by making the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. But here's the deal. If you're going to deal with Medicare and you want to make sure you're going to be able to save money, well, guess what? Many of you know seniors who have cancer drugs that cost up to $35,000, $15,000 a year, $12,000, $15,000 for all the other costs. Well, guess what? Already passed a law beginning in 2024, January 2025. No matter what the total cost of prescription drug costs for a CDR, they will not have to pay more than $2,000, period. They say another $200,000. Anyway, I get really. We drove out to the airport, put you in Air Force One, and you said you had a prescription needed filled, and it was an American company that made it. I'd say, okay, let's fly to Toronto, or to Berlin, or to London, or to Rome, or any major city in America. I'll get you that same prescription filled in those cities for 40 to 60% less than it costs you at a pharmacy here. It's wrong. But look, I'm a capitalist. If you want to make $1 billion, great. Just begin to pay your fair share in taxes. In 2020, 55 of the largest Fortune 500 companies made $40 billion in profits. They paid zero in federal taxes. Not anymore. Thanks to the law I wrote, we signed big companies now have to pay a minimum of 15%, but that's still too little to have to pay federal. When you all trade that, you pay 15% instead of what you're paying now. But look, it's time to raise the corporate minimum tax to at least 21%. So every big corporation finally begins to pay their fair share. You know, before the whole thing, COVID, there were 750 billionaires with a B in America. Today there are 1,000. You know what they pay in the average tax for billionaires in America? 8.2% federal tax. Anybody want to trade them with the billionaire tax? I'd take 8.2%. It's far less than the vast majority of Americans pay. No billionaire should pay a lower tax than a teacher, a sanitation worker, a nurse, anybody fucking that. That's why I'm proposing if I'm reelected, we're going to get it done. To a minimum tax of 25% for billionaires. That's not even the highest tax rate, just 25%. You know how much that would raise over 10 years? $500 billion in 10 years. $500 billion for a six-dollar program. Imagine what we could do. Cut the federal deficit in the world. We could invest in things that make America great again. Child care, all range of things we could do. And we'd all be better. Affordable child, home care, housing, all of which help families grow our economy. By the way, every one of these things I proposed, I asked the Treasury Department to do a study for me because I'm a pro-union guy, and everybody, I've been the most pro-union president in American history. And here's the deal. Because it costs a lot of money. It saves money. The study they've done points out that union labor and contracts raise everybody's income, and we have the best in the world besides. Like I said, when I got that $350 billion invested for computer chips, I was with Samsung in South Korea, convincing him to come here. I said, why would you come here? He said, you have the best workers in the world, and my safest investment is in America. Folks, there's so much we could do. But my predecessor has a totally different view when it comes to fair taxes. He said, and he said this to his friends in Mar-a-Lago, quote, it's on the record, I know plenty of you, this is his quote, you're rich as hell, and we're going to give you tax cuts. That's what he says out loud. When the president enacted a $2 trillion tax cut that overwhelmingly benefits the very wealthy and biggest corporations, he exploded the federal deficit, as I said. He added more to the national debt than any president has in one term in all of American history. And he wants to do it again. He's committed to another $2 trillion tax cut for the wealthy and biggest corporations. He also proposed cutting funds for affordable housing, not building them, cutting the funds for them. Folks at home, does anybody really think the tax code is fair? I don't know. You don't really think the wealthy and big corporations need another $2 trillion tax cut, do you? We're doing pretty well. I sure the hell don't. Look, I'm going to keep fighting like the devil to make sure the wealthy pay their fair share, to make the tax system fair. And under my plan, to make sure I wasn't able to be at the other end of his demagogue where I made a commitment when I got elected, and I've kept it. No one earning less than $400,000 a year, which is a lot of money where I come from, will pay an additional penny in federal tax. Not one single penny. Not one penny. But everybody else is going to start paying their fair share. Let me close with this. As I travel the country, folks often tell me how back in 2020 they were down. They lost their business. They lost faith in the system. But then, the laws we passed, the work we've done together got them back on their feet. We created 15 million new jobs in 3 years, more than any administration has in history. We're keeping millions of people in their homes. We're creating a new cycle of hope and pride. Pride in your hometowns, making a comeback. Pride in America. Pride knowing you get big things done if you work together. I've never been more, we have a lot more to do. A lot more to do. Regional selection is so important. It's not about me. It's about the future. It's about the future. He wants to undo every single thing we've done if he gets elected. He stated it straight up. But there's so much more to keep and to do. I'm never more optimistic about our future. You just have to remember who in hell we are. We're the United States of America. There is nothing, I mean, something to think about, nothing beyond our capacity when we work together. We're the only nation in the world that's come out of every crisis stronger than we went in, every time when we work together. And with your help, we're going to get people working together in a way they haven't for decades. So ladies and gentlemen, God bless you, and may God protect our troops. Let's go.